I want to show how you can easily connect Playmaker FSMs to scripts in your Unity projects. I'll be using a couple of simple JavaScripts for this example, and just a few simple objects. I've got some buttons here that we've wired up as FSMs, and we're going to have them trigger off some scripts and make them do some things to these cubes. So I have a couple scripts here. First is a random rotate script, and I'm going to add it to cube number 2, which is this green cube. And if we take a quick look at this script, it's pretty easy. First, I set up a integer variable. Then I create a function, randrotcube, and set up a random number between -40 and 40. I print that number so that it'll appear right down here, so I can see what it is. And then I apply the randrot amount to the rotation of the cube. Now I have on cube number 2 a little FSM, and it's just got a button, the one that you saw up here for rotate. And that fires off a spin cube event. And we come down in here, we'll set up what actually connects to the script. I'm going to do that with a send message action. It's pretty simple. The script and the FSM are both on the cube object, so we can say use owner. These are fine by default. And the method name that you want to pass in is really, you're calling this function. So it's the randrotcube name. I'm going to copy that. So if you've done any scripting or programming, think of this as just a way to call a function on a script that's attached to some object which you would specify here. So if we take a look at this with play, and I hit this rotate button, and you can see right down here that it's firing off through our little state machine. And you can also see the cube rotating in these two windows, which means it's actually triggering that event. And I'm hitting it pretty quick here. So it's just firing off that script multiple times and changing the rotation of that cube. So it's really that easy to call a function on another script and have something happen. But what if you want to do something a little more complex, like let's say pass a number to a script, pass through some kind of value. I've got another script here called apply force. If we look at that really quick, really simple, apply force as a function, but I've created a float that can be passed in called user force, and then I add force in the upward direction right here through rigid body add force. Very simply, actually, let me go back to that really quick because I know I'm going to need this name, so I'll just copy it real quick. I'm going to add this to cube number 1, which is this blue cube. And then here in add force, we once again will do a send message. And I'm going to put that name in. And of course, the owner's fine because once again, both the FSM and the script are on the same cube. And this time, under parameter, I'm going to choose float. Because if you remember, on the script, right here, we've got a float that we can pass in called user force. So we have to actually send a number there. I'm going to choose 100. And now I will play the scene. And when I use this jump button, it sends a force of 100 through to that cube, which get applied through the script. So we're passing values through the Playmaker FSM into the script, which is really cool. You can really easily change this to be, say, 200 instead. Play. And now when we press that button, we get much more force, which is pretty cool. So it's a nice way to connect those things. But what if I want to go the other way? What if I have a script and I want to control a Playmaker FSM? That actually is just as easy. So let me show you. I have GUI text random, which is this 00 here in the top left. And I've set up an FSM with a listener and a transitionary event on it, which we've seen a bunch of times in our examples now. So it waits around for this event to be called and flows into this event here, or this state here where I set up a whole bunch of stuff. So first I do a random integer between 1 and 100, and I store that in its variable. Then I convert that to a string, and then I output that string to the GUI text of this object. So much like a lot of our other examples, this is an FSM that handles a whole bunch of stuff, and when it's done, it flows back into the listener, so it can be called again. what we really need to do is fire that off from a script. We just need to send this event. And I've written a script to do just that. I've called it button because that's what it's going to be. So first of all, I've set up a randnum FSM as the name of a Playmaker FSM. So what I'm doing is I'm assigning a variable as a Playmaker FSM. Then I do a game object find, and I use the name GUI text randnum, which, if you remember, is right here. That's the one with the Playmaker FSM on it. I'm assigning this variable to this object, which I find by name, and then get component Playmaker FSM. So that gets a hold of that, gives us a handle to Playmaker FSM. Then function on GUI, standard, really typical GUI button. And when it's pressed, I use this handle to fire off the event set number, which, if you remember, we look once again at this. Set number is the event that we want to fire off. And I have made that global. So if I apply the button to this GUI object here, or sorry, this game object, just to hold the script, I now get a new button called rand. And if I press it, I'm getting a random number up here. And actually, if I stop that, choose this so you can see, it'll flow through the state as I hit random. It's firing off this set number event every time I send that. And I can do it pretty quick, and it just keeps going. I'm clicking about as fast as I can to get those random numbers. So it works really well and really smooth. You get all kinds of random numbers. You can control things in either direction and do all kinds of neat stuff. Pretty cool setup. Your scripts don't have to be as basic as the ones I've shown you here, certainly. They can be very complex, very specialized, or really optimized. And really, those are probably the exact reasons you would want to connect a real script to an FSM. And with these simple connections, you can add a lot of functionality to your games.